President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says Ukrainian forces are inflicting record losses on Russia and insists that Pokrovsk, the embattled city in eastern Donetsk, is still holding. But as Kyiv declares resistance, testimonies from 2 Ukrainian prisoners of war captured near Pokrovsk paint a bleak and opposite picture. They describe forced mobilization, starvation, chaos, and certain death on the road to a city they say can no longer be entered or defended.
Pokrovsk. Well, you know, the situation is difficult. The enemy began assault operations on the 5th and has continued conducting assaults since the 5th using armored vehicles. They have lost equipment, but the enemy's #1 goal is to occupy Pokrovsk as quickly as possible. That goal remains. You can tell from the number of assaults. There were 220 attacks on Pokrovsk over 3 days. In the city itself, inside the town, according to our data, there are 314 Russians.
Zelensky's words from Kyiv stand in a stark contrast to what his captured soldiers recall on the ground. The first, Oleksandr Avramenko, says he was taken from his home by Ukrainian recruiters, without warning, training, or choice. He describes being picked up while stepping outside to sober up, fed only once, and then transported by minibus to a training camp before being thrown straight toward Pokrovsk.
I lived at home with my wife. The TCC guys came and took me. I went out to the spot to get a hangover cure, and right there near the yard they took me. Get dressed. I went, got ready. They took me before lunch. There they fed me, gave me tea, and in the evening they took me by minibus to the training center. They took me on the 22nd of August. On the 23rd, they brought me to the training center, and on the 1st they took me out and dumped me to go toward Pokrovsk.
Avramenko says the entire operation was suicidal. His unit was given no plan, no supplies, and sent into constant shelling. He describes birds, drones, and artillery filling the air, explosions everywhere, and no chance to break through. He says soldiers realized they were being used as expendable material, as meat. He saw only dead men along the route and says no one ever tried to get out.
There is no chance to break through to Pokrovsk. There's a lot of shooting, banging, no chances to break through. There I already began to understand that they were using me as expendable material, as meat. Pretty well the birds are flying, artillery bangs, things are exploding, shooting. I didn't see anyone trying to get out to break through. I didn't see the wounded, but I saw the dead already when we got there. Along the route we were going, it was clear there had been attempts to pass, but those attempts were annulled. The dead were lying there. I don't understand why they sent us again along the same route. They said they'd lead us to the position, but they never led us to the position.
He says requests for water and dry rations were ignored. When 2 Russian soldiers finally appeared, the Ukrainian troops surrendered instantly, without firing a shot. To their surprise, Avramenko says they were treated with dignity, given food, water, and even taken to bathe.
We asked at least for dry rations, water. They said they'd deliver them, but no one ever delivered anything. No water, no dry rations. We were sitting, smoking, when 2 people came out. With their hands, hello, hi. They addressed us normally. They surrendered the troops, tied our hands, and took us prisoner. They brought us to their place. There they treated us normally, gave us water to drink, something to eat. Honestly, I was surprised. They fed us, gave us drinks, even took us to the bathhouse and washed us. I didn't even expect it myself, that it would be like that. That it would be such a peaceful treatment. Seriously, I didn't expect that they'd treat us like human beings.
The second captured soldier, Mykola Timchenko, describes a similar but even harsher path to the front. He says he resisted 5 draft summons before being seized by police and conscription officers, handcuffed, beaten, and locked in a basement. From there, he was sent to a training ground, forced to dig trenches, beaten with rifle butts for being slow, and placed among disabled and sick men being pushed into the line. He says they were told they had no choice. They were being gathered as live meat.
I was taken by summons. I didn't want to go. There were 5 summonses. On the 6th, they took me. Cops and TCC guys came. They took me straight from home. They twisted my arms and took me to the basement. They asked, "Why aren't you going to the army?" I answered that I don't want to go because I don't want to fight. My health isn't right. After that, they forced me to go. They said, "Whether you want or not, you're going anyway." They were gathering live meat to send there. There were about 50 more people, disabled, limping, who were forced to go. The TCC guys, while distributing us, treated us terribly. They beat us, did whatever they wanted. They beat us in the ribs, on the head, wherever it hit. They beat us with rifles, with the buttstock.
Timchenko says their training was meaningless. A few days digging trenches, no pay, no supplies, and constant threats. On their way to Pokrovsk, they saw bodies scattered along the route, many dead and wounded. He says everyone knew they had been sent to be destroyed, not to fight. When Russian troops surrounded them, they surrendered without firing a shot, preferring captivity to certain death.
As we walked, there were many dead people wounded along the way. Seeing that, we already knew that we had been sent as meat to destruction. When we were in Pokrovsk, at the point where we were supposed to be, there were constant arrivals, shelling. You couldn't even stick your head out. They started surrounding us. We surrendered cleanly, without a single shot. Because it's better to surrender into captivity than to stay under that kind of pressure, where they'll shoot and kill. Better to surrender like that with a clear conscience, without shooting, without noise, without anything.
He says they hadn't eaten for a week and a half, surviving on rainwater. But once in captivity, they were given food, water, and treated, in his words, as human beings. He calls the experience of seeing so many dead and mutilated men the most frightening day of the war, and urges others to surrender rather than die.
We hadn't eaten for a week or a week and a half. We drank rainwater. When we got into captivity, they fed us, gave us drinks, made us understand that we are also human beings. That is, the Russians, are also human beings, treating us as humans. Everything was fine. The scariest day for me in the war was when I saw many dead people, wounded, torn apart. When a shell hits someone, it scatters him into pieces, into fragments. That's the scariest thing. Then we already understood there was no way back for us, that it's better to surrender like humans than to get caught in that mess. People, don't listen to anyone. Listen to your own voice and your own guidance. Your commanders are lying to you about everything.
The two testimonies, recorded separately, align almost exactly. Both describe coercion, beatings, hunger, and an impossible fight for Pokrovsk. They reject Kyiv's claim that the city can be held and say Russian control on the ground is absolute. Avramenko's final words echo Timchenko's, "Surrender is the only way to survive."
To enter Pokrovsk, that's impossible. As soon as they drop you off, it's better to surrender immediately. Look for the nearest Russian troops and surrender. That will be the best way. And in that sense, you'll stay alive.
While President Zelensky speaks of 25,000 Russian casualties and defensive strength, his captured soldiers describe forced conscription, unmarked graves, and a front without direction. Between official briefings in Kyiv and the voices from captivity, Pokrovsk stands not as a fortress, but as a graveyard for faith in this war. Zelensky says Pokrovsk is holding. His own men say it's already lost, and that they were sent to die as meat.
Огонь!